As you already know, the genius businessman Elon Musk purchased Twitter for $44 billion this week, despite the platform being valued at about $30 billion. But, I'm sure there's a really good explanation for why the genius businessman overpaid by 50%. That's just good business. And that has been going about as well as anyone paying attention expected it to. But it's worth noting why this all happened in the first place. You see, Elon Musk insisted that he was filled with ideas to make Twitter a beacon for free speech at long last. Though Elon tried to repeatedly back out of the deal and was ultimately forced to go through with it, so that kind of kills any faith that I had in him having any kind of plan for how to help the platform improve, but whatever. This decision, or not decision because he was forced to do it, but Elon wants to look like a big boy, so it's totally a decision, all stems from a response to what Elon calls an assault on free speech, which is based on certain far-right figures such as Donald Trump being banned from Twitter in the past few years. Which, to be fair, Trump's ban from Twitter is insane. It's not like he took to the platform to encourage an ongoing threat to the lives of basically our entire legislative branch, as well as the vice president, because he lost an election and wanted to overthrow the results of said election, right? But he's totally going to have proof that the election was stolen any day now, guys. It's only been 2 years. Be a little more patient. It's right next to his brand new healthcare plan. You'll see. Also, I am tired of having to correct this, but the term freedom of speech can never be applied to social media platforms such as Twitter, because freedom of speech never applies unless the government is silencing his people. If I call you a jerk for using racial slurs, no one is infringing upon your freedom of speech. Those are called consequences. The most that you could ever say if it isn't the government silencing you is that the spirit of freedom of speech is being impeded on, but no one says that because it sounds stupid and means nothing, so they'd rather say the completely inaccurate thing that gives the illusion that what they're talking about is of the utmost importance. Yeah, if you couldn't tell yet, I have a lot of opinions about this whole situation. It is a dumpster fire. So up until this point, the issue that people have been having with Twitter is the fact that as a private business, they have the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason. Which, by the way, if you support a business's right to do that when it comes to refusing someone service because of their sexuality, but not when someone is refused service because they won't wear a mask during a global health crisis and are actively putting lives at risk, or because they participate in hate speech on a social media website, you're not a patriot, you're just a bigot who can't accept that your ideas are becoming more and more unpopular as access to information improves. Anyway, that's enough of me cosplaying Hassan. Let's look at Elon's first week running Twitter. Well, the first big change is that verification is going to cost $20 a month, and there is nothing you can say to change Elon's mind on that. Oh, what's that? Stephen King complained. Verification is going to cost $8 a month, and there's nothing you can say to change Elon's mind on that. So, as long as that's okay with you, Stephen. Okay, great. Yeah, personally, I've never thought of Stephen King as someone with much street cred, but honestly, I'm willing to admit I was wrong, because wow. And this paid verification process has multiple benefits that I'll get to momentarily, but right off the bat, I cannot stress enough how stupid paid verification is. You see, the whole point of verification across the different social media platforms is that it solves a flaw in those platforms. That flaw being that it's very easy to make an account pretending to be someone you're not. Abuse that in order to pretend to be someone people are willing to possibly give money to, such as their favorite content creator, or maybe just get them to click a link that leads to a virus, and you have a huge scamming issue. The problem is, it's next to impossible for these social media sites to accurately moderate these kinds of issues because of the millions and millions of users they have. Verification is the current solution to this, since you're not going to receive it unless there is some incentive to someone pretending to be you. And while it's possible to impersonate someone with verification in place, such as by changing your display name and profile picture, one, that has limits as the person can't change their handle, which makes it really obvious that it's a fake account, and two, it's very unlikely to happen for any non-comedic reasons, as public figures have a lot more to lose from getting caught scamming the public than some random person in a basement somewhere. So right away, it makes no sense to offset the cost of verification to public figures, as public figures are literally the only ones to not benefit from being verified. Also, the people that are verified are a huge part of the reason that Twitter receives any kind of traffic, yet they aren't compensated for doing so. So why would anyone do this? Elon's also framing this move as being a way of ending the peasants versus lords hierarchy that exists on Twitter. Because, yeah guys, who's the real elite here? Someone who has held the title as the richest person in the world, who threatened to fire 75% of Twitter's workforce only to take it back, except not really, because he's in the process of firing half of their workforce, because none of this is inhumane, as he is again and again playing with very real people's lives and ability to make a living. Or a guy that tweets fucking video game sales. Like, I'm sorry, but how are people dumb enough to not see through such obvious virtue signaling? Not to mention that while, yeah, being verified is widely seen as kind of a piece of validation that you're important enough for someone to impersonate, that shouldn't matter from the platform's perspective, since again, it was made to address a flaw in their design. But I said there were other verification features, and let's quickly go through them. One, it'll be open to everyone, but there still is a lot of doubt surrounding the verification process, meaning a lot of people are worried that anyone will be able to get verified as anyone else. You'll receive priority response to tweets, because the algorithm that's supposed to figure out who a user wants to see tweets from is apparently unable to figure out who a user wants to see response tweets from. Like maybe the people they follow? That's stupid. The ability to post long videos and audio, so if you want to grow as a long-form content creator on Twitter, you can't unless you already have a platform, I guess. My favorite of all, half as many ads on Twitter. Dude, can you imagine paying a premium subscription on a free service to not even get an ad-free experience, which you can get for free with ad blocker? Like you are literally paying for nothing here. Speaking of which, there are also two benefits that are, as of now, nothing. One being the ability to bypass the paywall for, quote, publishers willing to work with Twitter, which at the moment is no one. Yeah, I have a feeling Elon's going to ask publishers to do it while offering them no money, and then use them saying no as an excuse to be like, the media elites won't let me give you all sides of the news, blah, 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 blah. Elon, just go back to memes. Just go back to memes, dude, please. Also, this will apparently give them the framework to pay content creators, which, wow, that totally sounds like Elon Musk having a very clear plan to do that and not just relying on vague buzzwords that people generally agree with, right? And in response to the backlash that this announcement faced, Elon tweeted out this meme, which I don't think he realizes makes fun of himself. Basically, it's saying how people are willing to pay $8 for a cup of coffee, but not his service. Now, I did horribly in Econ 101, like horribly, but even I remember that people are willing to pay however much value a product provides. Meaning Elon is straight up admitting that people think a cup of coffee is more valuable than literally his only idea to improve his $44 billion investment. How do I understand that and the billionaire doesn't? Outside of his horrible ideas, Elon's also dedicated to pretending to be a victim to some kind of progressive mob, because of course Elon has not abused his new position of power at all, right? Unrelated, Elon also tweeted a baseless conspiracy theory about Nancy Pelosi's home being broken into by someone who fractured her husband's skull with a hammer. This baseless theory being that the husband, to be fair, a known POS who likes his booze, was actually drunk again and was attacked by a male prostitute he hired. I call it baseless, by the way, because the author of the article has said that it's an opinion piece and thus shouldn't be taken seriously in order to cover his ass for being sued for lying, which, by the way, untrue facts and baseless speculation are not the same as opinions, you absolute piece of shit, Stan Green. Now, it's worth noting that the use of hate speech on Twitter has gone up, with the N-word in particular being used 500% more in just 12 hours. However, it seems that at the moment that has less to do with Twitter broadly shifting to the alt-right and more to do with a smaller group of people with their own agenda. Just wanted to kind of address that headline you might have seen. And behind the scenes, Elon Musk is already in the process of firing roughly half of Twitter's workers, thus apparently opening the company to several lawsuits. He's also allegedly enacting insane deadlines that are causing workers to have to work 80-hour weeks, some apparently even sleeping at the office. Now, you can argue if you think opinions can't be stated as fact, Stan, the photo was staged or not, but pro-Musk people were acting like if this was true, it isn't insanely inhumane because they have to do it too, and they don't even get a Whatever. Congrats, if you're saying that instead of questioning why a billionaire is creating this kind of work condition while somehow having the time to act as the CEO of two massive companies, you are being turned against the middle class by one of the most powerful people in the world. Like, I don't really make political content, but how can you be dumb enough to not see that Elon is clearly trying to profit from the culture war despite being the elite boogeyman that both sides are afraid of? He also immediately fired a bunch of top Twitter executives, which is going to cost him over $100 million, which, I mean, that bothers me less. He's just now acting as the sole director of the company, which is going great so far. And among other changes, it's worth noting that advertisers are already pulling out of working with Twitter en masse because running a social media platform is harder than Elon thought. Because if a social media platform is a sandbox that welcomes anyone to say anything with no moderation, advertisers aren't going to pay to be associated with it, and so the platform loses significant amounts of money. This already happened with YouTube during the whole adpocalypse thing, which, by the way, is the same reason that Susan Wojcicki isn't posting vlogs where she randomly echoes baseless conspiracy theories. And Elon's trying to frame this as like, oh, the mob is against free speech, not realizing that this is how the free market works. If the public doesn't want to use his service because they don't like the values that it stands for, they don't have to, and they can boycott other brands from working with you. This is literally basic economics. It's almost like Elon doesn't like the free market unless it's benefiting him. Speaking of wanting to benefit yourself, fun fact, across my entire channel, there's one video that YouTube thinks you're gonna get the most out of, and it's going to appear right here. So maybe check it out after leaving a like, because what have you got to lose, right? But yeah, looking at everything that's been happening in the last week, I have no idea how you can look at what Elon's doing at Twitter and not think this is going to be a complete disaster. Never mind, I take it back. He's great. Elon, you have my support. Bye.